How are you, Kate?
Hey, good evening, all. We're doing great, thank you.
Yeah, how are you today, brothers?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful.
Okay, now people who were actually asking about your salvation experience. When did you get saved? How did that happen? Do you remember? And how's your relationship with the Lord? Basically, is what people want to know.
Well, you could say our salvation story isn't like the most like the classic where you've been out in the world and then you come to Christ with a problem, you come to church and then you get saved. For me at least, I've been in the church my whole life. My parents have been pastors. I've been going to church as long as I can remember, and I've known the Lord as long as I can remember. I've always been praying, I've always been listening, I've always been going to church, listening to sermons, reading about God, etc., etc. But I'd say the earliest recollection or memory I have of like accepting the Lord into my heart, and I guess being old enough to understand what it meant it was when I was 7. So I guess I consider that as when I was adult enough to become serious about like my walk with Christ. So at 7 years old, I gave my life up to Christ. I did the salvation prayer. I repented for my sins, and since then I've been trying to like do the salvation prayer like maybe once every year, once every 2 years, just because it's like almost like a failsafe. You can't catch like all the sins that you've done sometimes. So I try to like say the prayer every time I have a chance, because at our church during our sermons every Sunday we always call people up for an altar call, and sometimes during them I also participate. I just say the prayer to myself, just because you always want to cleanse your relationship with Christ. And when I was 11, I went to Nigeria for a year, and that was in a non-Christian environment. That was the first time where I was just outside of a Christian community, and that was like the first time where my faith was tested, where it wasn't as if everybody around me was Christian. Not everybody had the same views. We even had Muslims in our school, which I had never experienced in my school because it was a Christian private school as well. So there, where it was tested, and I still came out of it well. My relationship with Christ was still strong, and I'm glad for that. But that would have been like my first time, like it was really tested, because before that I was just living in my Christian community. I wouldn't say I was old enough to really like have major doubts about my religion, or be like debating theologically about what doesn't work with the Bible, what does work. So around 11, that's when my first test, just because everybody didn't see the same way as me. And then in high school, when I was old enough to like be listening to other people's arguments, why they didn't believe in Christ, just debating. And since in school we had different classes like ethics, we learned about theology, etc. So just there, of course, I think everybody questions at a point in their life, but the fact that God has been in my life my whole life, I've seen His miracles being performed basically on a weekly basis, and it was just impossible for me personally to deny Him. So even though you have those questions that cross your mind, but I never had any serious doubts that I was not a Christian, and I didn't go through any phase where I'm like, I'm not a Christian. Even if I was thinking that I'm weak with the Lord, like I'm not hearing Him as much as I did, I still believed in Him. I always had my faith in Him. So yeah, I didn't have like a dramatic experience with the Lord where my whole life changed overnight. I've been with Him since the beginning, and it's still a process, but it's still going well.
Okay.
I remember, obviously, I was raised in a Christian home, and I remember reading the Bible with my family ever since I was young. And I remember I used to pray every evening, asking God to forgive my sins, for the fear of going to hell, because I was thinking about, I never know when I might die, and I never wanted to go to hell. So that was my main thing, of praying so I wouldn't go to hell. But then when I was in middle school, 6th grade, and I was 11 years old, I came across a gospel singer, and she was gifted with an incredible voice at a very young age, and I was inspired by her. And I went to her website, and it was about and they had this trial about they want to know God and about salvation, and I took it just to check with myself if I really was a Christian, because I really wanted to know God and to be moved by God, and I wanted to feel God's power and presence in my life. So I went and I took the lesson on the website, and I think that was the day, and that was the time that I really personally gave my life to Christ and I received salvation, because they had step by step and they explained things to me that I didn't understand before. And I think it's really important, and I think it's really amazing how I got born again and I was brought to it by a singer. And I think that's one reason why I think I'm destined to become a singer when I grow up.
Okay.
Um, I know that I got saved when I was about 3 years old, I think, but I don't really remember it. And in my childhood, I like the Bible, and I kept like certain Bible verses in my head, and I'd pray to God like when we were told to pray and stuff. And well, I tried to live by those Bible verses, but other than that, I don't think I had a personal relationship with God. But once in Sunday school, I think, we were just trying to like call the Holy Spirit to come down upon us so that, you know, everybody could pray in tongues. And then I was really touched by the Holy Spirit, and I think that's probably when my personal relationship with God started. And that was in like maybe 4th or 5th grade. But in middle school, I think I had some problems with idols, and I think I kind of pushed God aside because like I liked material pleasure more, and I wanted to be disobedient, and I was pitying myself, and I thought that I shouldn't listen to God because He is the one making me so sad and not answering me. But well, my parents helped me get through that, and I started studying the Bible a lot, like sometimes for school, but also because I started reading it more, and I think that helped me to understand God more and get closer to Him. So that's kind of where I am at now. I'm trying to get closer to Him primarily by studying His Word, and I talk to Him a lot over the course of the day, and I can really see how He works in my life. Like, of course, there's been miracles, like before I was born, I had a tumor in my brain, and yet I was born completely healthy. And about how when I went to Nigeria for the first time, I was bitten by mosquitoes on every part of my body, it seemed. But I was like, and it was like unbearable, but like that pain receded really quickly, and by the time I came home to Ukraine, I was all healthy. And even in my daily life, like if I feel like super exhausted after school, and I don't even have to ask God for it, but sometimes it just happens that our extracurricular activities are canceled or something, or just somehow get more time on the assignment that was due the next day. And ever since I was younger, I had wished to get closer to my classmates because I kind of like thought a little bit differently from them, and God really did help me with that. So I am really grateful to God, and I really love Him, and I want to get closer to Him.
Okay. Another question that is here is mainly for Perez, but from Perez to everybody else, I guess. It says, hello, Perez. A few questions for all the kids. For Perez, first of all, how has your worldview changed since you left home, if at all? Then second question, which could be for everybody, how do you ensure that you are not following the crowd, but you stay in your school or anywhere else, or in the city or in the country or in the world? But how do you stay focused on the values and worldview and the things that you have been taught, and you know? That is connected to that question. Now, as the older you get, the more you are faced with different temptations and challenges. outside the four walls of your home. So how do you, stay focused and with God and with your values? Then the next question is, what's your purpose in life, and how do you know? If do you already know that, and how did you find out?
So I moved out of my home and started university in July. So I've been at university for about 5 months, 6 months now. And I'd say my worldview hasn't fully changed. I have met a lot of new people, like a lot of people of different religions that I hadn't met before because I lived in, you could say, a small, closed community. But being in university in a school that attracts lots of international students, I have encountered lots of different religions, also different people. However, it hasn't really changed my stance on anything. You could say my worldview has expanded, but my faith and my religion has still stayed the same. If anything, it even got more secure, just seeing like the values and principles of people of my religion and people of other religions. But like my worldview itself, you could just say I got more knowledge. It's always good to know more and more, even if it's about different religions. And it's always good to know how to back up your religion with facts. So I think my worldview has expanded, but definitely hasn't changed for the worse. And the second question, which is for all of us, which is how do we like remain focused on the values? Well, it's just that I think just from our point of view, it just seems like the best step, the most logical step, where we've already seen the fruits of our parents' labor, people who live by these principles 24/7. And we see people, for example, that come to our church who don't live by these principles. We see where they end up, and we see like, would we rather want to be like our parents, or would we rather be like homeless, living on the streets, living day to day? So it's almost like it's a very simple answer for us, and especially since we've been grown up to it, that how you grew up, it really affects your character, really affects how you think, your mentality, and the way we were taught very well, very thoroughly, and we just understand that the values that we taught, we wouldn't be taught in any other place. It's not as if you're going to university to learn how to like act well or how to remain disciplined. You learn specific things about your career in your university. So all these things that we learned at home is things that we understand we won't learn in any other place. So we focused on these things more rather than the other things. And these values and principles is why and how we remain different from the crowd, because the crowd, they aren't taught these values and principles from a young age. We're always being told, since I'm always being told by members of the church who are a bit older than me, maybe 50, 60, they'll be saying, wow, if I knew what you knew at your age, I would have been like much greater where I am. And seeing people at that age still like performing such extraordinary feats at their age just because they're trying to make up for lost time, it's also a good motivation for me, because I now have like an extra 20, 30 years ahead of them to still be doing well. So the fact that just the way we can't be like other people just because we know more, almost. We know how to act. We have great examples in front of us, and we see how it works for sure. And even if it's not the simplest road, as Robert Frost said, I took the road less traveled, which is the harder road, but it still led to a better destination. I think the last question was like, what's your purpose? Or right?
Yeah, when did you discover?
So I'm currently
When and how it is.
I'm currently studying law in my university. So you may assume that I already want to be a lawyer. That is correct. I decided I wanted to become a lawyer when I was 11 or 12. It was during my year in boarding school in Nigeria. As I said earlier, it was the first time I was outside of my Christian community, Christian space, and there I was just able to see more of how the world operates, how, especially if you know Nigeria, it's a lot of like seniority, lots of discipline, you could say not lots of justice, but that's just how it is. So being exposed to that area, being exposed to that type of living, I saw that I just decided I wanted to help people. I always like had a big heart, always tried to help people, and just being seeing how my parents live, I knew that helping people is a very good thing to do. But as a lawyer, I always felt like I could help people from a legal matter and in the best possible way, because you can always help people, like in the church, you can help them with lots of different aspects. But if they're like in trouble with the law, then like you almost have no way of helping them out other than prayer. So of course prayer is important, but so is doing something materialistically. And so I just decided when I was 11 or 12 that I'd become a lawyer. I'd be able to like be a voice for people who can't speak up for themselves. And from then on, I just knew that I'd be studying law wherever. Didn't matter like how long it took or where I'd have to go, that it'd be law that I'd be studying. And I've been studying it for a couple months now. It is difficult,
For
but
what purpose? What's the ultimate goal? The purpose
yeah,
of that law?
yes. And I've been studying for a while. For not a while, just started, and even though it's been difficult, I can see that it's something I'd like to have a future in. And my goal in the end would be to, so as I graduate, get all my degrees, then eventually I'd be able to create my own law firm. And with this law firm, I'd be able to have a huge influence on the world. And through that influence, I'd be able to be putting Christian values in the law aspect, because it's almost as if how the United States was created. Most of the founding fathers were like Christians. They tried to create their country based on Christian values and principles, and just trying to bring all these values and principles that I was taught as a child, trying to bring them into the law aspect of the world, because it's very easy to see how lawyers, they can go into law school with the good intentions, but after all the money they spent, all the time they spent, and all the hard work they spent in law school getting to where they are, when they get to a high level, most of what they think about is money and them being comfortable, and that is very understandable. But I think with the law system, with the principles and value system that I was brought up with, plus being determined to help people, I'd be able to not only be thinking about money and myself, but also be thinking of how to spread all these Christian values that I was brought up with throughout the law, and use my influence in that type of manner.
To the society?
Yeah, to the society, use my influence on the world, not just like for myself, but like have like a law firm, have branches in different countries, being able to affect it, just like that.
Okay. Zoe? You remember the question?
Yeah. So about how I stay true to my values with all the temptations that are and difficulties and troubles that are in school.
And in the world?
And in the world. But I'm going to start with school. Me and my sister, we go to a Christian school, so thankfully there's less of those temptations, and most of us mostly believe in the same thing. It's a small school, it's a private school for missionary mostly. And if there are things that I and a person disagree about, that I don't believe in, and another person wants to talk about it, wants me to partake, I reject their invitation and I don't do what they want me to do. I tell them what I believe in, my stance, and I explain to them, and then I leave it there. They can like agree or they can disagree, but I just tell them why, and I don't do or talk about what they want me to do. I usually leave. But like that doesn't really ruin most of my relationships, because we're pretty understanding. And with the world, like in my extracurricular activities, the temptations aren't great there because I'm mostly focused on sports, the actual sports. But with the people, I don't get too tempted I don't get too tempted with the people. I don't really have that much of a desire to fit in, because I'm pretty confident with myself and my relationship with God, and He is more important to me than other people's opinions. And about my purpose, I think I mentioned this yesterday and today, but I want to be a singer, and if possible, I want to be an actress. I always liked to sing. My dad said I sang before I talked, and I always considered myself to be a very artistic person. But like I said, I started taking it seriously when I was about 11, when I heard a gospel singer. And my goal to be a singer is to encourage people to live right, to live life right, to live righteously. And I want to be an encouragement because it can be very hard in this world to do things right with all the temptations and all the troubles. And I want to reach out to as many people as possible.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, bro.
About how we stay true to our values. Well, I'm still in a Christian school, and I haven't left my home for an extended period of time, or like if I have, then I've been like with relatives or friends or with my parents. But like for one thing, I know that I should stay with what my parents teach me. Well, kind of. One thing is that I'm used to it. It has been repeated to me a lot, and like I kind of want to keep obeying. But I also know that it's really a bad idea to be disobedient and try to seek other people's attention and try to like follow your own rules. Because when I did try to do that, it really was just an unpleasant experience. It brought my opinion of myself down and my grades down, and like messed up my priorities, and like it really like changed me, and not in a good way, but in a way that I didn't want to change. And so I kind of know now that it's better to follow God, because in God there is perfection, and when you have God, you really don't need to have human attention, and you really don't need to try and find something to make yourself feel good, or to make yourself feel free, because like God really is amazing, and there's so much you can find out from him. You could spend your whole lifetime just chasing him, and that's what I want to do. But even in this year, like even though like I'm generally trying to get closer to God, and I'm really intensely feeling that my parents know best, even this year, like this is like maybe the first year that I started like actually questioning myself about my beliefs and what I've been taught. And part of that is because I'm interested in politics. I'm interested in law. I mean, not laws, but like opinions, and I like arguing. And the world has many different opposing views than Christianity does. And for like this whole year, I was wondering like about, for example, this country's government and other countries' governments, like what have they done wrong, what have they done right, and like how should I regard my governments? Like I know that our government is the most corrupt in Europe, but like still you should like follow the law of the land you're living in, and you should bless your leaders, even though like here it's really really popular to curse your leaders and to make fun of them. And also there's how I should regard my country, because like for a long time I've really felt positively about Ukraine. I like thought it was the number one country, and like I knew that like for like it wasn't like the best standards for living, but I really liked it. But like in the world, I met with many opposing views, and I was just trying to find like what is the right stance, because like most people like will say, of course you have to be proud of your country, but then there's some people that will associate patriotism directly with fascism, or else they'll ask, well, you can be a patriot, but what is there to be patriotic about? And for a long time I was thinking about it, like maybe if it was a sin to think so highly of your country, or if you needed specific reasons to. And so yeah, that was something I thought about, and also about how, for example, homosexuality is a big issue between religious people and non-religious people, and like the world is, and that's a really hot topic right now. So I had to determine my personal stance on that, and I had to like answer all the questions that would always come up, and like especially because I tended to like read and watch like informatory sources that were more from the world's point of view, I became like really, really confused on those points. So like sometimes I do find myself like siding with the world, even though like it might be contradictory to the scriptures. But like recently, I started listening more. I started, just thinking of listening to my parents and all of that, and I started studying the Bible more, and then I kind of saw and I saw things that resonated with me, and I saw that like I really didn't need to follow the world, because the world is the world, but I am a child of Christ, and my job is to make his will be known and to spread his message. And I think that each person should have their own personal relationship with God. They should come to know him in his own way, but like I don't have to agree with everyone else, because like God created me to worship him and to become closer to him, and that's what I'm gonna do. And so like that's been something that has been bothering me a lot this year, but I think I found an answer.
Okay. All right. Now, one more question for you before I do one more thing. Going to be different. I'm going to be doing something different today. That will be a little bit of a surprise for you guys. But one more question that people have asked is some of your value systems that you have been taught. What are the things, the values, the things that you hold important, and what are the things that are important to you, to your life individually?
Well, I think I'd be speaking about which ones have been important in my life and which ones I've incorporated at least best during my time away. I think that one proves more which ones have stayed with me more and which ones I value most. So while I've been away from home, I've been in university, I've had my exams, I've had papers, etc., etc. And the values that I could tell that really helped me and like made me like almost different than other people was my focus, my focus, my discipline, and my hard work. Those three, even though they're like almost revolve around each other, those are like my top three of how, because I'm doing law, but I'm doing a minor in business, so I don't have all my classes with the same people. So I'm always having to like run around from campus to campus, from class to class, and I had one more class than all my friends doing law, and I had longer classes than all my friends doing business. So I was like almost stuck between two worlds. And I'm also on the basketball team. We have practices and games in the evenings, and sometimes there are away games, so you have to get ready before. So the fact that I'm able to focus, like with my brain, since law and business, it's like almost two completely different facets of the brain that you're using. So the fact that I'm able to focus as equally as much on both parts, where one part it's mathematics, it's high level math. On the other hand, it's arguing, it's debating, where I'm able to focus on both really well. That really helped me. And then discipline, being able to just sit down and read for hours and hours, which is pretty important when you're doing law, because you need to know more than what you taught. Lecturers, they teach, but it's not up to them that you understand. That you understand what they teach, it's up to you. So you need to go back and try to like almost teach yourself. Do you understand what you were taught today? If not, I have to read, I have to go on the internet, surf the web, try to understand more. And that only came from discipline. If I didn't have any discipline, then I'd be fairly content with just only going to the lectures and only going to and only understanding what I got straight from the lecture. But that wasn't enough. The discipline aspect, it really helped when I was tired, and especially as I mentioned before with basketball. I had to be disciplined to make sure I'd finish all my work before my practice started, because I knew that if I had to do work after a practice where I would be very tired, or after a game, that my discipline, I knew that I'd just be weaker. So that's just being wiser. So the discipline aspect, it really helped with that. And hard work, where I'm not trying to be just an average student at my university. I'm trying to get the highest grades possible. And in order to do that, you need hard work. You need to do extra studying. You need to be going to the libraries. Thankfully, some libraries at my university are open 24/7, so you're able to be there as much as you need to. But yeah, just being able to focus, to have discipline, and to work hard, those are very important. Another important skill, I guess, or value that I was able to pick up from home was time management. And yesterday, somebody asked us about a schedule, and we outlined how we'd wake up early, go to school, have our extracurriculars, come home, eat, do our homework until we finished, and like maybe watch our favorite TV show, until a kids show, until we go to bed, like shower, etc. And that I found out that that really helped me in university because I was able to plan my day much easier. I was able to see my classes. I was able to plan, okay, maybe between these two classes I could get some reading done, or maybe before basketball practice I can finish this, so, or maybe after basketball I can cook this. So the fact that I was able to make a schedule quickly, because you don't know your classes before you get there. You get to university, then you see your schedule, etc. The fact that I was able to get my schedule up quickly, I was able to adapt to it. I think that really helped, and just being able to adapt, being flexible to a time schedule really helped as well. Because back there in the year, sometimes like extracurriculars would be canceled, it'd be a half day at school, so your plans could change easily, and or there'd be like a big traffic jam since we live in the capital of Ukraine. So just being able to learn how to be flexible, how to adapt to any changes in university, a class being canceled, a game being moved to a different date, etc., etc. Just those things, being able to have a time schedule yet being flexible, I found out that that really helped me.
Okay. What are the main value systems, values that you have embraced in your life? They want to make a list of them.
Like in our home, there's a great emphasis on productivity, spending all of our time doing something productive. So we make a schedule for the day and plan our day out, what we're going to do with our time, and how much time we're going to spend doing this thing, that thing, developing ourselves, developing our skills and our talents, and the self-development, self-education, looking into things that you want to know more about, looking into things that you don't understand. I also think that helping others and being grateful for things is something else that we learned at home, because we're very privileged and it's very easy to take things that we have for granted. So we help others, help those who help us, to show that we appreciate what they do for us. And a really important value system to me, for me personally, is kindness to people, because we don't know, everybody has their own life and everybody has their own burden, and why add just unnecessary trouble to their lives when you can help them instead of making their lives a little bit harder. Being nice to them because you don't know what they go through or where they've been. And also being able to listen for me, because people that always like to talk and they always have something to say, no matter how shy or quiet they seem. And when you listen, you can actually help them, rather than when you talk and just spout your own opinion and talk about yourself. Because everybody likes to talk and everybody wants to talk and everybody wants and desires attention, but you don't always have to have the attention. And talking to others also when you need help. And talking to people who can actually help you, not just to people who want the answers, who want to know stuff. Talking to close friends, talking to family, and talking to some adults. A value system that is, like I said, to show thankfulness, show gratefulness, and show appreciation, and setting time aside for God, because we won't be anything without Him. He is our everything, and He is like the center of our lives. And being goal-oriented. The reason we plan our days is because every day is a week, and a week is a month, and a month is a year, and years are lives. And our lives have to be moving somewhere, towards a goal, towards a mission, towards a vision. So life is time, time is life. And every second of our lives is already being gone. So every time, everything that we do, every time we're alive, we have to be moving towards something, a goal. And God gave us a purpose. God gave us a mission. So we have to try to find out what it is as soon as possible, and then make tiny goals, make steps towards that big mission, the big goal, so you can get there at a reasonably, the good amount of, make reasonable goals to get to the impossible, and God will help us along the way. And also, never being too busy to help others, because we can't do anything on our own.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
I think that one of the most important values that has been stressed in our home is work before play, priorities in general. But like, we take the hard way first and work before play. Those are things that have been repeated to us a lot, and I think that really helps in our daily lives and how we live our life and how we perceive the life around the world around us. Also, we've been taught to self-educate ourselves when we have free time, to not just like squander it, but to like find things that you haven't necessarily been taught. Like, even if you if you were taught something in school, then you should like look up more about it and like become a master of it. And especially if you don't understand something, then you should work like 2 times as hard on it until you like understand it better than everything else that you learned. And that's something that we've been told to do a lot, and to work on our skills, but not only like the talents that we have innately or the things we have a passion for, but to learn new skills too, like learning languages and learning music and like physical strength, training yourself. Those are also things that have been encouraged. Also, we've been told to like selflessness also, because it's just like really easy to be selfish, but like if you pity yourself, then that can just be a very dangerous thing. You can waste so much time pitying yourself, and you can like drive yourself into failure. You can literally cause your own failure just because you're pitying yourself so much, and you won't get up and face forward. And like, we've also been taught that, of course, though our main goal is success, failure is inevitable. And in fact, we should be happy for failure, because failure is the mother of success. And just like, how can you even have success without failure? I mean, you just have to look at all the great people in this world, to Thomas Edison and Bill Gates. Thomas Edison and Bill Gates, and all the great people in this world, to see that, of course, they had to fail a lot, but look where they got. Even in the Bible, you can see that Joseph, he was sold as a slave to Egypt, and yet he became the second in command there. He became a great person. And even David, he was just a shepherd boy. Nobody respected him, but he became one of the greatest kings of Jerusalem. So you should know that even... Yeah, and something that we're also taught is that problems are a blessing from the Lord. They're a blessing in the package, because if we didn't have problems, there would be so many things we didn't have today. Like, because people needed faster transportation, that's why we have cars and trains and all of these more advanced things. And so we shouldn't hide from problems, we should solve them. And that's especially true because we're Christians. Like, we are called to be the heads and not the tails, the leaders. And what are leaders expected to do? Of course, they're expected to solve problems. So if there's a problem somewhere, of course, we have to get involved in that. And we shouldn't shy away from problems, because we have God on our side. And what is a little earthly problem when we have the Almighty God on our side? Of course, there'll be problems, and God told us that there'd be problems. But he said in just the first chapter, the first verse of James, that it is trials and tribulations that make perseverance, that bring up steadfastness in the person. So we should like be expecting them, and we should be happy for them, because we are followers of Christ. And yeah, that's something that we've been taught. And also to ask questions, to ask yourself questions, like to not like let yourself be idle, not to let your brain be idle, but to always be thinking about what can I do for God today, what haven't I done today, how is this, how is the situation that I'm in, or like what can I do to come closer to my purpose or to my goal today. We're always taught to ask questions and to find out more. And of course, about goals, we always are taught to set goals, to look for our purpose, and to always try to do everything to work towards God, to work towards your goals, and to work towards your short-term goals and your long-term goals. And of course, organization is stressed, just like Paris said, time management. Of course, I have problems with time management and organization, but our parents really do help us with that. And I think that I still am bad at writing schedules to the very minute, but by writing things down in the order that I should do them, it's really helped me keep my focus. And focus is another thing that has been stressed, to not to let your head be over the place, but to be focused, to be concentrated on what you're doing. That is one of the most important things in success. You need 100% concentration, and to not like my father said in Russian, that one moment the person is here, but the other moment he's somewhere else. And what if
daydreaming?
Yeah, what if that would happen in real life? That you were just sitting somewhere doing your work, and suddenly you just started thinking about something else, and you literally just disappeared. Just think about it. Would you ever finish your work? Would you ever be successful? But it's basically the same thing when you're daydreaming, because if you're writing a very explicit essay about the future of the economy, if you start daydreaming about penguins or something, what good will come of that? How will it help you write that? So yeah, we're taught to have good concentration and good focus, and to keep on being persistent. Yeah, we have to keep on being persistent. And our father and our mother are great examples of that, because they came from humble origins, but it was really just their hard work, their desire to get closer to God, but also their desire to achieve their goals that brought them to the place that they are now. And yeah, also obedience is stressed, of course, because sometimes we want to follow our own things, but just like the Bible says, obedience is better than sacrifice. We have to love the Lord as we love ourselves, and as it says in Deuteronomy, you love the Lord with wholehearted devotions, with all your mind, with all your soul, and all your strength. So the word listen in Hebrew implies a response. That means that when it says in the Bible, hear what the Lord says, listen to his law, that means obey his law. So obedience is really important. And one other thing, I think he started stressing it more when we were adolescent, and we were starting to think about issues that we might have, is that you don't have to get ahead of yourself. Of course, you have to be thinking as for the kingdom of God, and that heaven is in front of you. But how in the world, there's a big culture of romanticism, of falling in love as fast as you can, and finding happiness, and having a great, big, and happy family. But we have to know that if we're just thinking about, oh, I want to find such a pretty boy, I want to find such a pretty prince for me, then that won't bring us closer to our purpose at all. It will just distract us. And I'm just 13 years old. What am I doing thinking about marriage or thinking about having children? I have to be focused on school right now. So that's something that Dad taught us too, that we should focus on what we have to do right now, and not think about things that don't concern us yet.
Brilliant. You remembered a lot of brothers. Wonderful. Well, I have a surprise for everybody now. And I'm sure that you'll be wondering, is it possible for us to have Pastor Bosse here? and to answer some questions. Is that something that you people would like? Anybody would like us to invite Pastor Bosse at this time so as to be able to, ask us some questions? So if you are interested in that, I could try to arrange that. And because I'm sure you might have some questions for her, but I would say that most of the credit here is going to Pastor Bosse. Like I said, I just have to be here and provide the infrastructure or provide the environment. But most of the work that has been done on this case have been done by Pastor Bosse, really. My own work was to make sure that from 3 years old, they definitely don't remember, but from 3 years old, I started working on each and every one of them. Between 3 and 12, I work with every one of them. Some, with parents, it was more than 12, but with most of them, between 3 and 12, I was working with their value system. But thank God also that I was here in Ukraine, thanks to all these my challenges. So all those years that I missed with Perez when he was that age, because I was traveling a lot, I was able to recoup them when I was not traveling in the last few years. So he was able to be there with the sisters, and I was working with all of them. But Pastor Bosse is the one that has been constant and stable, and she's the one that has been there all the time. So I think she will have some practical aspect and some practical wisdom and experience to share with all of you on how she has succeeded in raising up such godly kids. And also, many of you have been begging me to bring her up and to ask her some questions, and to to just bring her up to answer questions and to be here with me in the program. And because she's always very busy. In fact, today I was even myself hesitant about calling her because she's been busy in the church. She's pastoring 2 churches on Sunday. So, but since today is the last day we're having with the kids, I think it will just be a great, great pleasure for all of you to hear from her as well. So what is it that makes Pastor Bosse tick and the family tick? So let me see. Now here is my princess. That's Pastor Bosse right there. Hello, princess.
Hello.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
We're here with people from different countries, definitely, and all these people have been waiting to see you. This week I was talking about bringing up, becoming heroes to your children, really, and bringing up godly children, how to become heroes to your children. So could you please help us out answering questions, because people were so impressed yesterday with the responses that the children gave, and this I've had my greatest views, Facebook live views with them since yesterday. We've hit over 40,000 views since they came on yesterday, just in 24 hours. So people are interested in this topic. That's the point. And please, Princess, here, go ahead and share with the people some of the principles that have helped these kids to become who they have become.
Hello, everybody. And, going straight to the point, even before then, I want to thank you guys for taking your time watching all this live broadcast, and we hope that this way we're able to contribute something meaningful to your life. So going to the topic we are treating tonight, how to become a hero to your children. I think the first thing, of course, we are talking in the concept of the Christian faith, Christian worldview. So I would say the first thing is having faith in God, because we know without faith it is impossible to please God. Without faith it is impossible to do what God asks us to do. I say faith because it's a very big thing, a very big thing, a very, very big thing to bring a child to this world. It's a very big, big thing. From one side, God, on his side, decides if a child will be born or not. You know, some people have a desire to have children, but God is not giving them. Some people are like infertile, they cannot uh, conceive a child. And even some, after conceiving, they are unable, you know, to carry through the pregnancy. So there are a lot of what I would call abortion, but not the really abortion we know. A lot of things that will not make a seed get born, you know, a child get born. So after passing through all those phases and still bringing a child to this world, I mean, I personally believe it's a very huge responsibility bringing somebody to this world after the Lord has allowed it. So the understanding of that responsibility, I think, plays a great role in how the relationship is built between a parent and a child. So the first principle would be understanding the great responsibility, and not just the responsibility of feeding, clothing, which also are not a small thing, but I mean, they're not the real things. So the responsibility of bringing a life, a child to this world. And also, I think the second thing I will call it a trust from God. Just like I said, not everybody willing is able to bring a child to this world. So if you're able to bring one, if you're able to bring two, or if you're able to bring three, like we were, we have to see it as a trust that must be valued. We shouldn't take that for granted. And if somebody, and in this case, say God, has trusted us with children, then we have to work hard, we have to be focused, we have to do everything in our ability to get it done. The third thing, which I think it's not new, is that bringing up a child is building a relationship. And my husband has a book that is called, I think, Marriage is Hard.
Successful marriage takes work.
Thank you, Pearl. Successful marriage takes work. So, child raising actually is about relationship. It's about creating and building a relationship with your child. So, and that relationship takes work. Is hard. Sometimes sleepless night, a lot of surprises, a lot of shame come with it. But if you know where you are going, and if you understand purpose, if you understand responsibility, if you understand trust, then you are able to stay through it until you start reaping the fruit of your labor. So I really want to stay back. I don't want to stay and talk about building a relationship with your child, because all this child raising, training a child, all this big thing that our world is suffering from. Of course, I don't want to take any great credit for myself. I want to thank God that has helped me. I want to thank God that has given me the wisdom. But this is what I realized from my experience, that the secret to becoming a hero to your children, the secret of raising good children, is understanding that child raising is a relationship. It's just like going into marriage. You know, a newborn, a new life, and you have to start building relationship with that child. Which on the other side, which is I can call it the next principle, but really they are connected. You can call understanding. There is this saying that everybody wants to love and wants to be loved. So if any child finds understanding then you are able to create something. You are able to create a system, you are able to build a system, you are able to build a home. Most of the problems we have in our relationships, and now when we are talking about children, is because we are not able to understand them. We are not able to build that relationship. Everybody is speaking his own language. Everybody is standing on their own rights, and nobody is taking time to build a relationship. So I think our approach to raising our children will change if we understand that it's not this, oh, I have to raise these children, oh, we are living in the end time, I just pray that God will keep these children for me. But if we understand that it's a relationship, it's a two-road way, you have a part to play and the children have a part to play, and actually you have more part to play, because like in the case of marriage, it's like two grown-ups come together to build a relationship, and they almost have equal rights. But when it comes to raising children, a lot falls on the parent, because I mean the child is just a newborn, most of the responsibility on the children. And when children are small, they so much believe in their parents, they look up to them, they imitate them. The parent forms the whole life, and they are ready, they are willing to do everything for the children. I think most of you will remember how your children, when they were very small, even while in the cradle, or won't want you to leave the room, why they will cry when you are leaving the room. And after sometimes when they are able to crawl, or they are able to start walking, and you need to go out, you will see them not very happy when you are going out, and they even cry when you go out. And when you come back, they're so happy to see you, because I mean you are everything. That you are their life. You feed them, you clothe them, they know your voice, they know you are the only thing they had. And if we are able to create a good relationship with that level of trust at that time, it really be a smooth relationship. So I'm really stressing the point that we have to change our view of how we look at raising our children. We have to understand it. We have to build a relationship based on, of course, trust, based on example, based on understanding. And if we're able to do that, because there is law, life is predictable. If you do things right, you get the right result. Of course, again, I'm emphasizing the sovereignty of God, praying and asking God to help you, because it's not by might, it's not by power, it's by the Spirit of the Lord. But all things being equal, after giving the honor that is due to God, there are still some skills we need to apply, and that is building relationship. And every child is a human being like you, growing up to realize, to identify himself, and at a point in time that small child will grow up to be you. So putting your child in your place, or wearing the shoes of your child, like we say, putting yourself in the shoes, helps you to understand that every child deserves respect, every child deserves understanding, and it's not too early to start showing them love, to start showing them that they matter, to start telling them about their uniqueness, never looking down on them, never seeing them as like they don't understand, because even science taught us that, when they are small, their brain develops so fast, the cells divide so fast, and most of whom they become, actually, they get it at that tender age. So if a parent has a good understanding, that time is also a very good time of pumping a lot of good stuff, a lot of good values into the children. So still on this topic of building a relationship, for example, when Perez was growing up, I came across just one time, maybe another teaching or another book I read, that the most important need for a man is respect. And then I had a child, maybe about 8 years old. Perez was 8. And I thought about it. the most important thing for a man is respect. So I started like, I changed my attitude towards parents. I mean, I don't know if I was good before then, but I became more consciously respectful to parents. So I started like, I pay attention to how I approach him. Like I was brought up in Africa, and in Africa, we have this superiority mentality that, your parents, not that they can really call you anyhow, but they can say, do this for me, without the please, without could you, would you. And I was brought up in that culture where nobody, when my parents would want me to do something, nobody asked me, can you, are you available? Are you free? I mean, it's like, they say it and you run to do it. But when I understood that men needs respect, and I'm raising a man in my house, although it's like it was 7 or 8, but just like I said, it's a human being. So I started treating parents more respectfully. Before it was go and do this, and I expected him just to leave anything he was doing and go and do it, because I'm a parent, I'm a mother. I carried him in my belly for 9 months. I've cleaned all his pools, I fed him, I didn't sleep for many nights. So but then when I understood that you have to be respectful, so instead of giving those commands, giving those orders, as young as 8, 9, I changed my attitude to parents, and that helped a lot. And of course, it didn't end only on parents, though the most important need for ladies is love, understanding. But since I started with parents, it just passed down the line. I try to be more respectful. I won't say 100%, because it was also a transition for me with the other girls. So that's just with the other girls. So that's just an example of what I'm trying to say, that if we approach child raising as building a relationship, and as adults we understand the importance, the values, the challenges of building a relationship. So if we also approach child raising that way, I think it will give us a lot of results. It will bring a lot of ease, and our children will enjoy us more, and they will have more good memories of who we have, because the home is God's system of raising godly children, not the street, not other people. And God has given the parents a very valuable place in the children's life at a younger age. So we have to maximize that, because the older they get, the less grip we have on them. When my children were younger, I almost knew everything about them. But now I can't boast of that. They have their own life. There are things I don't know about them now. So that time we were their world, we have to show them example. We have to maximize that process, because after sometimes it won't be like that again.
Thank you. Another question here for you is, there are actually 3 questions. One question says that, how do you balance your schedule, your busy schedule, with parenting? How do you balance that? The second question is, how do you reprimand or punish your children when they do something that you don't like? Punishment. So one is schedule, punishment, and the other one is advice to single parents or single.
Okay. I would say, I thank God that things happen in stages in my life. I'm lucky, and when I give consultation to aspirants in marriage or to new families, I always tell the husbands, or both of them, to try to save enough before having children, so that if it's possible, when they start having children, the mother will have a flexible regime at work, and even an extended leave, maternal leave. I was able to balance parenting, number one, because I wasn't as busy in ministry when I was raising my children. I had time at the beginning to raise my children. I wasn't working. I was just serving in the church. So I didn't have is it 9 to 5 work or 8 to 5 work. Although, I had some time in school. Okay, after I had my children, I was almost free to be at home. So that really helped. That received the burden of, having to wake up in the morning, go to work, find a place to dump your child and get the child after work and stuff like that. So that helped me. And I like I said, I wasn't into ministry like I am now. So ministry, the roles I took in the church and in the ministry, they came at a later time, and they came state by state. But still, okay, if we come to the fact, I'm still parenting and parenting.
You're still busy.
Yeah, I'm still busy. I'm only happy that my children are not very small now. It's a great advantage because they are more independent now. Because when they were smaller, you have to plan everything, you have to see to everything. But they can do a lot of things now. So I'm happy for that. But still, I take parenting as, and I have to go back on this to the role of women and to the role of mothers. Yes, we are living in a free world. Women are free to be anything they want to be. But a woman in family must know that one of her primary roles is to raise. If she, like I said, if you brought a life to this world, it's your responsibility, And we know that women are more responsible with children than some men. Some men find it easy to leave home, to leave their children, but it's very hard. Yeah, some women, they do it due to different situations, different understanding, but mostly a mother will not leave his child or our child or her children. So it's still the basic responsibility of a mother to cater for the children, to raise the children, to take care of the children, and we shouldn't see that as a low duty, like housewife. I also don't believe in just being an housewife, but I mean, you can, housewives are different from housewives. You can develop yourself while being an housewife. So I just wanted to stretch that point, that we must see it as a calling, as one of our calling, because that calling of, being a mother, raising children, and investing in them, these days they are being underlooked. And I think that is creating problems for us, and that is not allowing us to conveniently, invest in our children, invest in relationship, talking to them, building relationship. Like, for example, my children, they know that they have my priority, and I can cancel any meeting for their sake if it is necessary. That one they know, and when they come to me, they ask me, am I busy? So I tell them no. I can talk to you now, or after 5 minutes. They know that I will always create that time for them. If they are sick and there's nobody to leave them with, I can cancel any meeting for that. So I really want to encourage women to have this balance, and I think the balance starts in the head when we are able again to love being a mother, to love raising our children, to see it as an heavenly calling, as a glorious calling. Of course, we can do more than that, and a lot of women are doing more than that, and I'm doing more than that, but doing other things shouldn't overshadow and underrate, giving prophets to the word, giving priests to the word, raising the next generation. The men, they have their own part in raising children, but the woman, for some reason, God has given a lot in that part to children. So still on the topic of how do I balance, I just put it as part of my schedule. You have to do different things in life. You have to brush your teeth, you have to eat, you have to do shopping. So parenting is just one of the things I have to do. So I just put them in my plans. In my plans, my children, all the things I have to do. So if you know that you have to do something, then you put it in your schedule and you balance it off. Another thing that is very, very important, very, very important for busy women, for working women, is leveraging, getting helpers, getting assistance. The sources I have with my children, I owe it to a lot of people, and my children know that. When they grew up, I told them who helped me with them when they were small. I had people, of course, mainly women, ladies. I had elderly women that helped me, younger women that helped me, like babysitting and just helping with different things in the house. And they know some of them. We are still in touch with some of them. We are grateful to some of them. So working women, busy women, they need what I would call partnership with less busy women, or what we call nannies these days. It's okay to have a nanny. Of course, you also have to get the best nanny. It's not very easy to get a good nanny, but you can train your nannies. I had to train my nannies. I had to organize them. I had to manage them. It was also new for me at the beginning, but then after some times I also had to adjust to that. But having a nanny doesn't mean you just put all the responsibility on the nanny. You still have to check, you still have to have the checklist, you still have to, it's like just having an older child, monitoring your children. You are still responsible. So having help, looking at parenting as management, as something you have to do and you want to be successful in it, really helps me. Also, I collaborate with the children. I bring the children into the system. Paris was very helpful when he was, because he's the first child, so I'm able to give him responsibility. Often I will tell him, do this for your sisters, wash your sister. Then Zoe, I said, take care of Pearl. So, as soon as they are able to help me, as soon as they are able to take responsibilities, I brought them into the system and we all did it together, because it's something of interest to all of them. I won't be carrying all the burdens forever, and I also have to train them for their future life. So if a man must do what he must do, right? So a woman must do what she must do. A woman must take care of her children, and I must use everything I have, my mental ability, my environmental ability, my physical ability, everything. When I know it's my responsibility, I'm a responsible person, so I get that balance. I won't say it's easy, but it's much more easier now. Children have different stages. We went through different things, but I think I'm getting closer to the time when I'm reaping the fruits of my labor from these kids. So it's getting better now. So that is about balancing parenting and doing other activities I have to do. I hope I was helpful in answering that question. The second question of reprimanding, discipline children. Well, yeah, I had to do that a lot. First, because that was how I was raised. That was what I knew. Of course, in the concept of Christian worldview, having children really helped me. When we have our children, it's like we are helping them. It's like the children depend on you. But really, God has a way of working in two ways. That as you are raising these children, you are also raising yourself. You are also changing. So the children brought a lot of good things into my life. When I started punishing them, I was punishing them in anger. But after some times, working on myself, reading a lot of books, I understand that, no, you don't need to punish them because you are angry. You don't need to punish them because they are not doing what you expect them to do. You have to punish them in a way that the punishment will work. Because when we punish our kids in anger, or when we punish our kids out of frustration, or because we are angry at their dad, there are a lot of things children go through. The punishment really doesn't work, because the only thing we're able to pass across is the anger. So the anger continued. So yeah, I had to spank them. I had to put them in the corner. They had to kneel down. They got grounded. They got talked to, and each one of them took it differently. Like when I talk Ashley to Zoe, I mean, that was the worst thing in her life. She just doesn't like that Ash talk. But when I talk to parents, it's like, okay. I mean, maybe it's because it's a boy and it's not as emotional. So different child reacted differently to different disciplinary measures. But I believe in disciplining them, and it brought its kind of result. I personally, well, now that I'm older, I think it's somehow possible to raise a child without punishing them. Or let's say it this way, if I had to live my life again with these kids, I think I would, like spanking, I think I would spank them less now. But also it depends on the age. When they were smaller, of course, the only thing they understood was spanking. But I think I could have reduced the number of spankings if I had the understanding I have now. Just like I said, it's building relationship. And if you're able to build relationship, if you're able to understand where your children are, where you are, then I think that would have been less spanking. But just like I said, I grew together with the children, and they brought a lot of things. They brought a lot of things into my life. But I believe in punishment. God punishes us. But I believe in punishment in love. I believe in punishment with understanding. So, I mean, lately, those years back, when I had to punish them, it came to a point I didn't even have pleasure in punishing them. I just punished them because I know it's like God will punish me if I don't punish them. Or it's like they won't get the values if I don't punish them. So, I mean, it became so irritative to me punishing them, but I knew I had to do what I had to do. And but before I punish them, I always ask them, do you know why I have to punish you? They will say yes. And I will ask them, have I warned you enough? They will say, sometimes, how many times did I warn you? 3 times, 5 times. So it's good. I mean, it's just to punish you. They will say yes. So by the time you go through that process, they are learning their lesson. I'm also learning my lesson. Of course, I still have to punish them. Of course, at that point, I didn't want to punish anybody, but I still have to do what I needed to do. So it was a process. But I personally believe in punishing, but the more understanding, the more developed we are, I think the less we'll have to do spanking. We'll find alternative means of discipline our children. But discipline, based, of course, is inevitable. It has to be done. Okay, that's the second question, and we have the third question on.
The last question, Princess. Actually, there are 2 last questions. Not the last question, but the 2 questions that I have here is, number 1, advice to single parents. Okay. And number 2, how is it being married to someone like Pastor Sunday, who is a revolutionary, always looking for problems to resolve and getting into troubles in the country? So how is it being a woman and being married to a man that is always getting into trouble, looking for problems, challenging with government, lawsuit, court cases, and things like that? That's what they are.
Okay, so advices to single women.
And they were also asking if you have books in English for women or for ladies, or for parents.
Okay. So advices to single parents. Well, at different points, time in my parenting, I myself felt like a single parent because my husband wasn't always available, was not always there for me. So I felt as a single parent. So
Especially when traveling.
especially when traveling. So, I mean, to single parents, I think it's even easier. I mean, in that sense, because you know that you don't have an husband. Because when we have an husband, we seems to be demanding because we are two. We have sayings like, "I didn't bring this child to this world alone." I mean, it took two persons to bring this child to this world. So sometimes I'm just saying this to comfort the single woman. It's not that I'm anti-marriage or something like that. But sometimes it's even better to know you are single. There's nobody to hang the responsibility on. You know you are in it alone.
Blame on.
Yeah, there's nobody to blame. You are not expecting help from anybody. You have yourself, and if you are a Christian, you have yourself and you have God. And I mean, to become a single woman, I mean, it's very easy. I mean, you can be a widow. I mean, your husband may die. It's not just because of divorce. Different things can happen, or maybe your husband is handicapped. I mean, many things can happen that will make you to almost be the only one, responsible for raising your children. And one thing that bothers single parents is the other part, the other influence that the other sex normally needs to bring into the relationship. For example, we know in raising a child, we know that the male figure brings instability to the relationship, while the female brings care, kindness, the hard part of life, and where the male brings a kind of being straight, being stable, and focusing. But really, there are differences between the male figure and the female figure, but that doesn't mean actually God created the two different sex, and marriage is primarily between a man and a woman, so that we will learn from one another. So when we say that the man is responsible for stability and other things, that doesn't mean a woman cannot give it. And so my advice for single women is this: learn the basic psychological difference between a male and a female. Scan yourself to know your strong point and your weak point, and then start studying in order to get and bring into yourself those qualities you need to bring into your relationship with your children. I mean, there are a lot of good history. History has proved it. A lot of great people raised by single women. I mean, they just had to incorporate. They just had to become. Just like our body is created in such a way that if one organ is lacking, you have backup organs. So as a female, you can still, bring into the relationship what a male figure will easily bring, but you have to learn it. So the most important thing is for you to know your child, build a relationship, read books, know all the things that are needed, and try to do it yourself. If you can't do it yourself, another advice is to find a reliable male figure, maybe a good Christian, a brother in the church, or your uncle, or just a good, reliable, trustworthy person. Then your child might have a session with that, or your child might be going to a family, a full-fledged family where there's the husband and wife, and also visit them, be with them from time to time, so that he will have a taste, or your child will have a taste of what it is like to have a father and to have a mother in the family. But God has a plan for your life. We shouldn't try to find excuses in where we find ourselves in life. We have to be bold, we have to be strong. God is on our side, and God is always a God that uses the little things to confront the big things, or uses the small people to confront the big people, or the unwise things of this earth to confront the wise things. So it doesn't matter what you have, just bring what you have to the Lord. Try your best, and God had created that child, God had formed that child from your womb. We see the child through. You will not always be there for your child anyway. You will have to live at a point in time. So just do your best, and then give the rest to God. So I think that's what I would say about the topic of raising children in this case. Well, the other question is a little bit of out of context. It's not the question of what it is to be married to.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's a little bit out of context. I mean, of the topic we are treating. So I don't know if we should treat that, or we should stick to the topic we are dealing with.
Yeah, because they are asking. Maybe I'm sure they will be interested in that answer, since they are asking.
Okay, so if I got it right, the person was asking my experience in having
What does it mean to be married?
like an irregular, having an irregular husband, in the sense that not an average husband, a different husband. Okay, I mean it is like sweet sour experience. I think it would be unfair to say it is very difficult. It disrupted my life, because actually I wanted to have a normal husband. I've always anticipated a good, normal, easy flow life. But we don't always get what we want, because we didn't choose our calling. God chose our calling. And I'm sure I didn't run in front of God. I'm sure that in every stage of my life, God has led me. So in marrying Pastor Sunday, I mean, there are just too many proof to show that it wasn't my thing, but it was really God's will for us to be married. And we are two different personalities, and that was really very disturbing for me at the beginning. But then at a point when I started understanding more of psychology, when I started understanding that, I mean, people are just different, and when I know that you can't really change a person, that reduce the pressure of feeling uncomfortable with some of Pastor Sunday's moves, with some of Pastor Sunday's opinions, ideas. Also, living with Pastor Sunday has really helped me to understand the other side of life. That, I mean, people are different, and you have to allow people to be people. You don't need to live your life carrying the burden of other people, or trying to restrict people. Of course, you can give advice, but people will always do what they want to do, because that is their calling. That, at least that is what they feel they want to do at that time. Also, being married to Pastor Sunday has really helped me, and I don't think, just like I said, that raising the kids has contributed something great to my life. It's the same thing coming in touch with Pastor Sunday and being closer to him than most people has really, I mean, affected my life, has really, I mean, changed my life, because you cannot have it only bad with a person. Everybody has their pluses, every person have their minuses. So I don't think, for example, I don't think I would be in ministry now if I hadn't come so close, or I'm not part of the Embassy of God Church, because I'm this person that I just want to be average. I just want to go to church. I want to sit at the back seat. I don't want to be on the stage. And not knowing that God has put a lot in me, and I have a voice. I can help people. So Pastor Sunday helped me to bring out, that potential in me, because I never thought I could be a leader. I didn't even want to be a pastor. So so I give God the credit, but that was done through Pastor Sunday in me. Then when you talk about, it was rough, just like I told you, I wanted to have an easy life. Then when you have a husband on the other side, what you call a causing, revolution, revival, changing things. But after some time, just like I said, I'm not his creator, I'm not his God. And if he says that is what God wants from him, who am I to say, okay, that's not what God wants from you? The only thing that is clear is that everybody must take responsibility for for the calling of God, upon his life. So basically, it has changed me. It has given me a better understanding of psychology, better understanding of people. People, especially developed people or Christians, they do things because of some inner processes, something going in them, and you can't always interfere with that thing that is going inside. Second, regardless of the differences, there are a lot of good. You can always get something good from even people who are different from you, but still you have to deal with them. Also, having a husband, as Pastor Sunday, has also given me a lot of exposure. My word would have been thinner without him, but because of his word view, because of his scope, because of his understanding, and some of that has have rubbed on me. Initially, I was very emotional about some things. I was angry. I thought it brought a lot of inconvenience, a lot of shame to me. But the more I grow in God and I understand, my life is not dependent on what my husband is doing or what my husband is not doing. I have a God, and this marriage relationship is just something to fulfill God's purpose on this earth. So I shouldn't take it too far, as if my whole life depends on it. So when I understand that I'm a personality, I'm a person, I'm not an attachment. Pastor Sunday was not there when I was born. Many years he was also not there. There has been a God that has always been with me even before I met Pastor Sunday. And there will be a God that will be with me after meeting Pastor Sunday. So living with Pastor Sunday has helped me to meet myself, to have a better understanding with God. And this philosophy has really eased things out in our relationship. And now we've come to the point that we allow ourselves to be who we want to be in the concept of Christian worldview. So we give freedom to God. Now we are two leaders living together, and under normal circumstances, it should be catastrophic for two leaders to live together. But because of all the things we have gone through, a lot of talk, a lot of experiences, time has proved some things. So, the secret is, allow me to be me, and I allow him to be himself in the concept of Christian worldview. That's what I would say. The question about if I have books in English, I have only one book that is ready in English. Unfortunately, I'm more focused on the Russian word at this time. Pastor is more focused on the English word. So I think with time, I will have more of my books translated into English language. I have about 10 books now, but like I said, for now, I'm more concentrated on the Russian world. But I'll try and start a project and gradually move into the English-speaking world. Is that all?
Well, if I can try to look questions here. I hope whoever asked those questions got your answers. How far? The children are still here, by the way. Okay, well, let me see the time. Ooh, yeah. Let's go back to the kids, I guess, and find out what they would like to say to us. We'll come back to Pastor Bosse, but let's ask the kids what they would like to say to us in conclusion. Perez, are you ready?
Always ready.
Okay.
Well, once again, it is Christmas, and just want to reflect on how the day has gone, that what we've learned today, about all the lessons that me and my sisters and both my parents have spread today. Just hope that you all take everything that we learned and everything that you've received at your churches. We just hope that you will appreciate it all and take it to your lives. And just remember that all this, that we are a very unique family, but it did not come easy. We all had to work individually on everything, on our relationship with Christ. And just remember that that is the priority overall. It's always important to be focused, to be kind, to be disciplined, but you can only become that strong with Christ. If you try to do it on your own, you will fail and you will just be in pain. But with Christ, even though you go through challenges, He will be there to help you go through them. So I just want, even though we've talked a lot, at least as children, we've talked a lot, not mentioning a relationship with God in every turn, but I just wanted to emphasize that He has been there with us in every turn and every decision that we've made. And just pray that you will also understand that you understand that that is the number one in our lives, that without Him we would have been nowhere. And I hope this has been impactful for you.
Okay. Thank you. Zoe?
Like, where we are now, what our parents did for us, and how we got to this place from Nigeria to Ukraine, and how we got to live in this blessed and privileged house, and we're so blessed to have parents that have so much wisdom to pass down to us. We didn't start here. We all had a beginning, and we weren't where we are now. And we all had to take steps, and we didn't get to where we are without hard work and without faith and trust in God. And I'd like to encourage all of you to always try to better yourselves, to always try to improve yourselves, to work towards the future, work towards your dreams, work towards who you want to be and what you want to be, and always look up and face God, because He's leading you and He's guiding you, and He has your hands and your future and your destiny and everything that you hold dear in His hands. And you have Him on your side, and that is a great force to have on your side. So always look up, and always, no matter what you do, put Him first and seek Him, and then He will provide all things, as long as you seek Him first.
Thank you.
Okay, so the topic for the last week has been about parenting, but I'm not a parent, so I think I can talk to the children out there, that is to, like, try and understand your parents, because, like, it seems that they do lots of things that are unreasonable, and maybe they don't understand some things about us, but, like, I think that they really do know best, and as you grow up, you'll come to understand that more and more, because when we're younger, we do not understand at all what it's like to pay all the bills and to take care of more than one child and to just do all these things. We can only see what they do to us. But, like, as you grow up, you'll understand that your parents are really just like miracle workers in your life. And it's better to realize that when you're younger, and not when you've left the house and, lost so many of the privileges that you have. And so, like, even when you're talking to your parents, like, it's easy to take them for granted, but always remember, you have to put others before yourself. That is a rule that applies in everything, not only in living a fulfilled human life, but also in the English language. It's always someone else, and then I. God, and then I. And your parents, and then I. Because our parents are an authority given to us by God, and we should respect it. And I think that we should like analyze our lives. We should like just like try and look over your day. Like try and see what are the things you spend the most time on, and like kind of try and if you spend like too much time entertaining yourself or things that will prove like worthless in the end, then like maybe you should try and replace them with like more educational things and stuff. And like it's really like it seems pretty hard to enjoy things like washing the dishes, practicing for some music recital, or practicing for sports and all that. But like if you realize that you have to do it because God tells us to do our best and because our parents have done so much for us and because like in the end it will be so much better to have practiced for that recital instead of embarrassing yourself in front of everyone, then then you can just then you just have to sit down and do it. And like by the time you've gotten into it, you really won't feel all that reluctance that you felt from the beginning, because it really is satisfying to have learned a song and to be able to play it prettily. And after you've stretched a lot and done it a lot, it isn't that hard to do a split or to do a few pull-ups. And like it's not as bad as you make it out to be. And usually, even when you're washing the dishes, you just start singing a song or thinking about something else, and like it turns out not to be as bad, and you are done with the dishes in no time, even though it looked like a lot. And like Agatha Christie, the Queen of Crime, that is, she was an author that wrote so many mystery novels. She even said that the best time to think up of a murder mystery is when you're doing the dishes, and that was just because she didn't like the dishes. So like even if you don't like to do something, you can just turn it into a good thing. And like you should always be taking steps to get closer to your purpose or to find your purpose. So just like think about that in your day, because like you have lots of time in your day and you should just be trying to use every day to the fullest. And maybe these are some things, and maybe there's something that is more applying to adults than children, but like we have lots of problems in this world, but like if you have just one problem in your on your street or in your society, then try and be the first one to get your hands on it. Just grab the bull by the horns, like they say in Russian, and because you can do that in Christ's names, but also you can do that to prevent more things like this from popping up, and to train discipline in you, and to just become a person that is going forth and just initiating things and not waiting for things to come to them, because that is how all the apostles that we admire so much worked. They didn't wait for people to come to the church to them. No, they went out and they added 3,000 to the church in one day, 1,000 to the church in one day, this many Gentiles to the church in one day. They didn't really sit around though, only just to fast or to get closer to God. And for children, sometimes it's frustrating because like I have lots of thoughts and there's lots of things I'd like to do, but it feels like you have to be an adult to like change so many things that you think are wrong. Like you can study it now, but in the end, you really have to go to college and all those years before you can actually do all the big things that everybody dreams of. But still, for example, one thing that seems easier than it actually is a problem that we have here, and that is ourselves. Because character is what becomes your destiny. So you have to like start working upon your character now, because if you don't, then you won't even be able to achieve those big things that you're dreaming of. And it's really, really, really hard to actually change yourself, because like you want to do something, and if you want to do something, what will force you to change yourself from the person that wants to do those sinful things or things that will waste your time? So like you should try and overcome that first. But if you are able to overcome that, then first of all you are a hero, because like I'm not like really good at changing myself, and I tend to think of myself first and foremost. And yeah, but like if you're able to overcome yourself, then like it will really help you in life. It will help you to achieve your purposes and your goals, and it will help you to help others, of course, because it says in the Bible to love others as you love yourself. And if you've overcome yourself, which is just like the flesh, which is the cause of all of our sins, which is what Satan targets the most, you'll be able to do so many other things. It's like, do your best, don't give up. There'll always be trials in life, but of course there will be a calm after the storm. Even if it feels so horrible now, feelings are just fleeting things. What you feel like, if you've fallen down and your hand hurts, that's also just a fleeting thing. And you have to just remember, if nothing else, then in heaven, we will be rewarded for what we did. So thinking that, no, I really don't want to practice for this, I want to pleasure myself right now, just think that all those like entertaining shows that you've watched, in the end, what has it given you? When you get to heaven, like, what will you have achieved? Like, you could have spent your whole life watching so many entertaining things, and you're always so entertained, but when you die, you'll have nothing. But if you're practicing and stuff, and if you're working hard, and you're able to bless the world, like God blessed us through your hard work, then when you get to heaven, you'll see it won't be empty. You'll get a reward. So, yeah, try to be thinking about those things. And thank you very much for watching. Your questions were really good. They had me think about a lot of things, and I know that I have to still improve myself in a lot of places, so let's all do our best. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Okay. Now, Pastor Bosse, what would you like to say in conclusion to all already been said today?
Concerning the session we had about raising children, I hope I've been able to help with some of the wealth of my experience with raising 3 wonderful champions that God has given me. I enjoy each one of them. They are all different. I mean, we've gone through different seasons, but it's a joy to see them growing up and to see that God is alive, and I believe they will be able to pass on the seed, because somebody said your success in raising your children is not really in your children. You will decide if you are successful or not in how your grandchildren will be raised. So we still have a long way to go. So if they are able to pass this value down to their children, then I can call myself successful, we can call ourselves successful. So the work is still going on. But so far, so good. I have wonderful relationship with these children. With the girls, we are becoming friends more each day. And even with parents leaving the house, that has brought us closer. We seem to cherish each other better after, having the experience of living them. So I'm grateful to God. I think God has been gracious to me. God has been good to me. And one of my calling, which is raising godly children, is being fulfilled. So thank you for being with us tonight. May God bless your home, and may God transform your children. And God is not hypocritical. What he did for one, he can do for others. So God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Huh?